Here at Unity of Aliso Viejo, we greet you in the name of all that is sacred and beautiful, where we embrace all spiritual paths that teach love. Unity offers a positive path for spiritual living and welcomes people of every creed, color, ethnicity, age, socioeconomic background, sexual orientation, and people with disabilities. Unity leaves no one out. We also like to say that you are not here by accident, by divine appointment, and we are so grateful that you kept your appointment with Spirit this morning.
Well, thank you all for your presence here today. You know, as my time of retirement comes closer, every Sunday becomes more precious. I've stopped calling it retirement, it's rewirement. Because I'm rewiring my mind. I'm still going to be working in the nonprofit sector, but just not quite as fast. And completely, I'm going to rewire myself to slow down and stop and smell the roses every once in a while. And every once in a while, find something funny. Father O'Malley rose from his bed one morning, and oh, I wish I had an Irish accent, but I don't. It was a fine spring day in his new Texas Mission parish. He walked to the window of his bedroom to get a deep breath of the beautiful day outside. Then he noticed there was a jackass lying dead in the middle of his front lawn. He promptly called the police station. The conversation went like this. "Good morning, this is Sergeant Jones. How might I help you?" "And the best of the day to yourself. This is Father O'Malley at St. Anne's Catholic Church. There's a jackass lying dead in me front lawn." Sergeant Jones, considering himself to be quite a wit, replied with a smirk, "Well, now, Father, it was always my impression that you people took care of the last rites." There was a dead silence on the line for a long moment. Then Father O'Malley replied, "Aye, 'tis certainly true. But we are also obliged to notify the next of kin." Well, today we're talking about cultivating, nourishing relationships, and humor is a wonderful part of the way we do that. It's good to have a light heart. Have you ever noticed that some relationships just lift us up and other relationships kind of drag us down? I call those energy vampires. They just seem to suck all the energy out of us before we even know it. We're just like exhausted and we don't know what happened. Mark Twain said, "Whoever is happy will make others happy too." There was a National Opinion Research Center poll that found people with 5 or more close friends are 50% more likely to describe themselves as very happy than those with fewer strong relationships. Another survey of 800 people showed that those who valued wealth, success, and status over close friends and a loving relationship with a significant other were twice as likely to be fairly or very unhappy. Not a surprise. So the first idea we're going to focus on is tend your relationships. Just like a garden doesn't grow by itself, it needs to be tended and nourished. Emotions are contagious. Just like when somebody yawns, don't you just automatically feel like you need a yawn? Well, our emotions are contagious as well. Have you ever noticed that when an angry person comes into the room, you don't even have to see them? You feel the energy change? And isn't the same true when a loving person enters the room? They have this glow about them that reaches out like an aura, way 12 feet from them, and touches us. We feel the love, the energy. Emotions are contagious. Loving people seem to just absolutely glow. We can build up emotional immunity in many ways. If we're faced with someone who has a lot of negative energy or angry energy, One of my teachers taught me to imagine a cylinder around me that had mirrored glass on the outside, so any negativity would bounce off, but clear glass on the inside, so any loving energy could go through. And that has helped me in a number of different situations, and a couple of other ideas. If you have to talk to an angry or negative person, consciously soften your gaze, don't stare. Keep your expression neutral. And use body language that's the opposite of his or hers. So you don't reflect the other person's tension. So if the other person is like this, you want to be like this. And that helps to neutralize that negative energy. But if you're like this, you're just bringing more of that negative towards you. So wonderful ideas to build emotional immunity. Another is to stay on your side of the road. Don't try to change the other person. It may be tempting to think that you can help others by trying to save them or pointing out the error of their ways, but it rarely ever works. The most effective way to influence others is to model the behavior that you would really like to see in them. So to just be loving and model that, and it's catching. Just like negative energy is, it's catching. I've been following the story in the LA Times about the market basket supermarkets in New England. Have any of you, I don't know if it's been on the news, but it's been in the LA Times. This is a chain of supermarkets in New England that was co-owned by cousins, RDT and RDS. RDT was the benevolent director of the stores. He had the contact with all of the employees. And RDS is his cousin, who was demanding and grabbing and finally was able to purchase one extra share of the company. So he had 51% and had control of the company. And he fired RDT. Well, the beloved chief executive of the New England grocery chain Market Basket, RDT, has been reinstated in what experts are calling a testament to the power of passionate employees. When they fired Artie, everybody quit. Everybody. From the managers at the top, who were not only risking their job, but their future, their 401ks or whatever. He says, you have demonstrated to the world that it is a person's moral obligation and social responsibility to protect a culture which provides an honorable and dignified place in which to work. The shelves have been empty because even the suppliers and the drivers refused to deliver until RDT was back. The chief executive chief executives of late have made headlines for firing employees or earning exorbitant salaries. But RDT is a people person who knows everyone by name, makes it a habit to form personal connections with customers and employees, even attending the funerals of family members. He also encourages employees to move up the corporate ladder and achieve their full potential. Many of Market Basket's top managers in the corporate office started out bagging groceries for RDT. RDT's management philosophy encouraged strong loyalty from employees who left work in order to join the protest. Now they're ready to get back on the job. And it says, the employees said, tonight we raise a glass to RDT and each other as we have achieved the most improbable of upsets. Tomorrow we go to work and never in the history of the world will so many people be so happy to punch the clock. And RDT says, this is more about fairness, justice, and a solid moral compass that unites the human soul than it is about competition. Isn't that wonderful? It's been really fun to follow it in the LA Times because you just never knew what was going to happen. RDS is a mean son of a gun. So I'm so happy RDT is back on top. Okay, tend to your relationships. And number 2, surround yourself with support. Molly and John were married young, and it wasn't long after they were married that Molly realized that John was a very high-functioning alcoholic. And by the time he got home from work, he'd stopped with his buddies to get something to drink. And there was never conversation because he was always too sloshed to talk. And yet he never had a hangover. None of his managers or employers ever guessed that he was an alcoholic. Well, after they'd been married for 25 years, Molly decided she just couldn't take it anymore. And a friend invited her to an Al-Anon group. She went to the Al-Anon group and became close friends and decided she just had to leave. So she went home and she told John, you're an alcoholic and I can't take it anymore. I'm going to leave. My friend is away for a while. I'm going to stay at her house, and I want you to think about it. If you still want to be married, you need to give up drinking. So she left for a few weeks, and then she came back, and she said, okay, John, it's time for you to leave and think about this. And so John was gone for a couple of weeks, and then he called Molly, and he said, Molly, I'm an alcoholic, and I'm attending AA. May I come home? It was through that support group that Molly had the strength to confront John. Otherwise, there would have been no change. And she went through those 25 years raising her children under that kind of atmosphere. It must have been horrible. But now, in their later years, they have a very loving and wonderful relationship. So, develop a support group. And then also, don't take others for granted. Appreciate one another. And I love this. There's a picture of Teacher Appreciation Day, and all the teachers' boxes have a rose in them. We can appreciate one another with the words we speak or the gifts we give. There are many ways. I had such a beautiful email from Stephanie this week. I felt I'd had the most giant hug I've ever had in my life. So thank you for that. There are many ways we share our love and appreciation. And then number 3, see the world as your family. That's what happens every time we have the Olympics. We see the world as our family. Maya Angelou said, human beings are more alike than we are unalike. Try to spread your giving of yourself to people who may not look like you. You belong to everybody, and everybody belongs to you. There was also some coverage in the LA Times about the earthquake in Napa and how strangers all came together downtown with brooms and boxes and helping people that if their homes were red tagged, they helped them they brought boxes and plastic cartons and helped them pack up. One guy had a broom, and that's all he did was sweep. And he said it was like a meditation. And strangers from one church, there were 100 people that came and just did whatever needed to be done. 30 people from the local Home Depot came and brought supplies to help people fix what could be fixed and drag off what couldn't. Wonderful story about reaching out to one another, seeing the world as your family. The next brief story I have is about Happy Oasis is her name, and obviously she changed her name to Happy Oasis. But she left home at 18 and instead of going to the Ivy League college that her parents wanted her to attend. She started traveling. She started in Australia, Southeast Asia, and then she ended up in Bangladesh. She wanted to experience a third world country, and she was shocked at what she saw. She was riding a bus into the more obscure villages, and the bus, all of a sudden it was monsoon season, and the rain was coming down so hard that the bus had to pull off the road or it would have been completely submerged in the water. There was like a hill that was about the size of a football field, and the bus drove up there and everybody got off. And then the people from the nearby villages started coming to the drier area. And she was the only one left on the bus. And a man came up to her with this big smile, a Bangladeshi man. And she's crying, tears streaming down her face at this, seeing these people dying of dysentery and starvation. And she said, "How can you smile in this situation?" And he said, "A smile does a lot more than tears. Follow me." She went with him, and with his great big smile, he went to people who were dying on the ground, brushed their hair from their forehead, and sang to them the hymns of his tradition. And she remembered some of the songs she had learned at Christian camp, and she followed him, smiling every step of the way as he touched people and sang to them. Some of them, he stayed with them until they passed. Others, if they were at peace, he went on to the next one. And she writes about that. Somebody could be terribly depressed, and just by smiling, open up and reaching out, giving of myself the way the smiling man did, I've found I can really offer some relief and light. That's the reason I changed my name to Happy Oasis, to be an oasis of happiness for everyone. And the wonderful side effect is that I get to carry that oasis inside myself wherever I go. It's the basis of the high level of happiness I enjoy today. The smiling man showed me that giving love to others isn't complicated or difficult. I know firsthand that when a smile is all you have to give, it's enough. My last story is about a Palestinian American named Naomi, who was at the Albuquerque airport waiting for her flight, and it had been postponed for 4 hours. When she heard the announcement, "If anyone in the vicinity of Gate 4A understands any Arabic, please come to the gate immediately." Well, she writes, one pauses these days, but Gate 4 was my own gate, so I went there. An older woman in full traditional Palestinian dress, just like my grandmother wore, was crumpled on the floor, crying and wailing loudly. "Please help," said the flight person. "Talk to her. What is the problem? We told her the flight was going to be 4 hours late, and she did this." I stooped to put my arm around the woman and spoke. The minute she heard my words, however poorly used in her language, she stopped crying. It turned out she thought our flight had been canceled entirely, and she needed to be in El Paso for a major medical treatment the following day. I said, No, we're fine. You'll get there just late. Who is picking you up? Let's call him." So her son was going to pick her up, so they called her son, and Naomi talked to him in English, then he talked to his mother in Palestinian, Arabic, and then they got off the phone, and Naomi said, "Well, I'll call my dad." So she calls her dad, and he talks to her in Arabic. And then she thinks, well, I have a couple of poet friends who speak Arabic, so she called them, and pretty soon the woman was laughing and opening up, and she'd pulled out a sack of homemade mamoul cookies, little powdered sugar crumbly mounds of stuffed with dates and nuts. Out of her bag, she was offering them to everyone at the gate. To my amazement, not one single person declined one. It was like a sacrament. Isn't that beautiful? It was like a sacrament. The traveler from Argentina, the mom from California, the lovely woman from Laredo, we were all covered with the same powdered sugar. And smiling, there is no better cookie. The children were covered with powdered sugar too. And I looked around that gate of late and weary ones and thought, this is the world I want to live in, the shared world. Not a single person in this gate, once the crying of confusion stopped, seemed apprehensive about any other person. They took the cookies. This can still happen anywhere. We are the ones who create our world. We are the ones who create our world by cultivating our relationships. And this part of our service we call our Sacred Walk of Abundance. And our wonderful chaplain team leader, Reverend Leslie, gave us an affirmation. And Loretta made copies of them. They're in the bookstore. And we invite you to pick one up and be affirming this during the week. Unity of Aliso Viejo is rich in blessings, given and received. We are prosperous indeed. Thank you, God. So as we all affirm this, we know that God's blessing will continue to be with us as we prosper and grow. And now, after we bless our offerings, we invite you to walk forward and with every step, think of a blessing that God has granted you and give thanks. Come forward and take a blessing from the blessing bowl. And if you brought a financial gift, to place it in the plate. But even if you haven't brought a gift, please come and receive your blessing. And if you give automatically through your bank or credit card, there's one of these in the seat in front of you. Please bless this as your offering because we never get enough blessing. So let's hold our gifts in our hands and bless them with the words of our offering blessing. Together, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I give and all that I receive. Amen.
And now our musicians will lead us into a time of meditation as soon as we're done with all the hugging.
And here, be still and know that I am God.
I invite you to relax ever so gently now, letting go of any tension that you may have been holding in your physical body. Just feel the love of God washing over you, relaxing your shoulders, down your back, your hips, your arms and legs, and feel your feet planted firmly on the ground. And now become aware of your breathing. Breathing in deeply, breathing out slowly, feeling your oneness with the ebb and the flow of the universe. Take a moment to think about a relationship, perhaps one that is very close and loving, or perhaps a relationship in need of healing. Allow yourself to see this individual in your mind's eye as a perfect child of God, whole, worthy of all love and tenderness. And as you think about this relationship, ask that presence of God within you how you might cultivate that relationship so that it grows into a beautiful expression of your love for God and God's love for you and this individual. When we really think of it, there is only love. Everything else is an illusion. Love is all there is. And love is the great healer and brings us to oneness. We know this now in the quiet, in the stillness, in the sacred silence. And now, as we gently return our attention to this time and place, with deep gratitude, let us join in with Tom as we sing softly, "Sweep Over My Soul."
Sweep over my soul. Sweep in grace and joy.
And so it is. Amen.